So I was thinking in the middle of the music video, after we get to the moon on the golf cart, then we'll go to like one of them, like movie type scenes like they got in Thriller, and then you got to say your line.
Oh, yeah, so why do you have a John Coltrane album?
Oh well, the police told me that giant steps is what you take when walking on the moon. You did it, boy. You did it. You did
Uh,
it.
no.
Oh, well, it's one of them, them musician jokes where both parties involved know that the joke's not funny, but the musicians are going to put on face and act like it's funny no matter what because they know who the police are and who John Coltrane is, and they know the other person doesn't know who John Coltrane is or how to read music. So it's really all they got to make them feel holier than thou.
Oh,
That kind of joke.
oh, okay. I don't know if that'll work in the music video or not. You know what? I was thinking, how about let's take it a step further.
Well, what you got in mind?
Well, I'm thinking if you only do the John Coltrane and the police, maybe people will still know what you're talking about. So we need to take it a step further and do another branch of music. So try it again and add a little bit of like 90s flair to it.
Oh, you mean like Hanson or Marilyn Manson? Or
Oh,
Jumpin' Jack Johnson?
I don't know. Just try again. Why do you have a John Coltrane album on the moon?
Oh, that's easy, because the police told me to just stop saying what you take, walking on the moon. And when the police tell you to do something, you do what they tell you, just like the Rage Against the Machine said.
No, they didn't say it about the police. You're thinking of the government, not the police department. They sold out to the government. They told the police, poop on you, I won't do what you tell me. And they told the government, poop on me, I'm gonna do what you tell me.
Well, I mean, an artist can't sell out to everybody now, otherwise they wouldn't be an artist. And then otherwise the store would have been out of records. And then I wouldn't have been able to get my hands on this fine John Coltrane album, Giant Steps.
What store are you talking about?
The other guy's closet. Because I took it from the other guy's closet without paying money.
What else? Crap the bed and call it a corn dog. That guy sells out to everybody. Are you sure this is going to go so good right in the middle of our music video about going to the moon on a golf cart?
Simon. Listen, I have watched enough house art videos to know exactly what goes in the middle of a music video and what doesn't. And I'm telling you right now, nothing says a golf cart on the moon like cheesy jokes about John Coltrane and Giant Steps. Okay? It'll be perfect. But you know what? That don't matter. We're here. We got to raise some capital for our new upcoming project. So go ahead, knock on the door. Let's sell this dude some insurance. Okay?
Okay, here we go. Get ready.
Yeah, I'm coming. Freaking mailman. Better not be like the last package ordered. X pick my butt to take you to freaking magnet.
Yeah, what do you want?
Hello, sir or madam. Life got you down. Political issues got you in strife. Interest rates got you worrying. My name is Beefward, and I am here to offer you a once-in-a-lifetime financial opportunity.
I'll take it from here, buddy. That's right, sir. We here at Marceline's Mutual Playground, term life insurance policy holders, institution for finances, believe that when everyone else goes low interest rates, we go sky high.
Yes, sir. 57.4% APR.
IDK. What that means. Am I right?
And let me tell you, sir, you don't see interest rates like that every day.
That's right, sir. When they zag, we zag.
You look familiar. Who'd you say you are again?
Oh, I'm sorry. Where are my manners? Excuse me. You probably have seen me before on the podcast. Regular show about the regular show. Regular time. It's just a regular show about the regular show. Last year, I was in the running in the parties for best host of the year. And I mean, I should have won, but I lost because of stupid stuff, like, for instance, like last time Rob got more votes than me. Stupid stuff
I
like
don't
that.
care about any of that. All I want to know is where you got my contact information from and why you're here.
Oh, yes, sir. You were referred to us by Johnny, your friend Johnny. Yeah. Said you could use some financial services.
Look, the only Johnny I need is frickin' Johnny Walker. Am I right?
I'm not familiar with him. Is he related to the Chuck Norris Texas Ranger?
Oh, yeah, frickin' Chuck Norris. Yeah, No, are you stupid or something?
Well, you would be surprised, sir. I'm sure if you went back far enough in the genealogy, you would find a common ancestor.
It's booze, you idiot!
No, sir, no. I think you've got us mistaken for Rob and the other guy. Yes, you see, they get innumerable boos from their fan base because their quality of the content they put out is very low and shoddy and quite suspect, if you know what I'm saying. But we at Marceline's Playground, we do not get booze because we put out high quality music videos in podcast audio format for listeners' viewing pleasure. We at Marceline's Playground, I smell Tex-Mex and candy, do not get booze. So if you could please refrain from the booze, unless of course you are saying boo earns, in which case, please continue.
I didn't understand a frickin' word you just said.
Well, I will be happy to assist you in that endeavor, sir. You see, their content is very suspicious because even though you think they're putting out WAV files for you to listen to, they're really MP3s. So can I put you down for the life plan or the 30-year policy?
Boss!
Oh, there he is. It's about time. Where have you been? It's about time.
Is that guy your lackey or something?
Well, only for the week, you see. On Meaty Mondays at Marceline's Playground, we have a 5-card Texas Yu-Gi-Oh! Hold'em tournament, and he lost to me. He didn't have any money to pay me, so he said he'd be my indentured servant for a week. So I said, put on your tap shoes, Shirley. You're going to town. And here we are.
Okay, look. I know I'm late. I'm sorry, okay? But look, I was at the post office, and then I went to the bakery to get your butter croissant. And then on my way back to the shop, the golf cart started riding real dirty. So I put some dish soap in there to straighten things out. It wasn't done, though, so I don't know if it's going to work or not. But we're praying like heck it does.
Are you serious? You are more incompetent than I am.
Thank you. You know, most people, especially women, just tend to see me as a piece of meat.
Oh, the
They
humanity.
just have their way with over and over again and again and again and again and again.
Okay.
Again.
Okay.
But you see me for what I really am. A person with qualities.
Look, I handled the assignment. Oh, look. Such a amateur hour. Amateur hour. Did you check the tailpipe for the whistle tip?
The what?
The whistle tip. You know, you put it in the tailpipe. It makes it go woo-woo.
Yeah, you talk about that woo-woo. We talk about that whoa-whoa.
Yeah, and then you get to the Flowmasters and all that.
Yeah, it's just purely for decoration. That's all, man. It's just purely for decoration. Woo-woo.
You're right. I'm such an idiot. Can't believe I didn't check in the tailpipe. Of course, that's what makes the golf cart run dirty.
Yeah, they caught you rotten dirty, Drake Cup.
Somebody obviously didn't watch the Oakland News broadcast on K-Ron4 TV. It was on YouTube back in 2006. You should have went and watched it, Drink Cup. That was part of the prerequisites for this job.
Please tell me you saw the leprechaun in the tree. Please tell me you saw the leprechaun in the tree. Way to go, man.
Who else seen the leprechaun say yeah? Yeah!
I don't know what you're talking about. Who's this guy anyways? You know the one of them pigeons you was talking about you gonna sell something to?
No, it's not bird season. They've migrated wherever they go this time of the year.
Oh, yeah, you know, that's funny, yeah. Hang on while I go get my baseball bat and my golf club. I've got a present for the side of your face.
Oh, yes, sir. Well, thank you so much. We love gifts here at Marceline's Playground. I smell Tex-Mex and candy. But before you go, I'm assuming that the life insurance policy's probably off the table, so to speak. So allow my colleague to present you with another life-altering opportunity.
Oh, yes, sir. You see, our friend Uncle Rico down at Placebo Supplements, fueling your wildest dreams, have come out with new flavors of his sleep supplement. The first one is Caffeine Dream.
Oh, yes, sir. Tastes like insomnia.
And if that one is not for you, then you will definitely should check out Nicotine King.
Addiction.
Oh, yeah, let me tell you, I tried that one and it was good. It was so good that after I took it, I thought, geez, I need a cigarette. Because I can't fall asleep after taking this crap.
Sir, why are you going outside, sir? You gotta buy supplements from us. That's not a ball bat he's got.
Holy crap, it's an aerosol can.
Maybe we should go.
I ain't
with
living this again for 2 weeks straight.
Everybody get in the golf
Get
cart.
me the crap out of here.
Get the golf cart. Go.
Drop.
He's driving slow. This bubble's coming out of the engine. boys!
You idiot, you should have used Dawn and not some off-brand.
Cowabunga, dudes and dudettes. Welcome to another episode of It's Just a Regular Show About the Regular Show. I'm your host, Kirkland, as always. The only one you know. And as always, that's okay. We've got a doozy of an episode for you today. It's called Free Cake. I'm just kidding, it's Brain Eraser. So before we delve into that, I have one recommendation that I've been watching probably for the last about half year on YouTube. It's a channel, I believe it's called Wrestling Bios, but it's a series called Reliving the War. And if you're a wrestling fan from the 90s, you'll remember what's called the Monday Night Wars, where WWF, WWE now, but WWF at the time and WCW would both air on Monday nights. And it's kind of like a ratings war. I like going back and listening to the stories behind those a lot. I don't watch wrestling anymore, really. It just has completely changed, and I just don't care much for it. It doesn't seem much like it's about storytelling anymore, in my opinion. It seems like it's more about high spots and whatnot. But it was just, I guess, a lot more believable, as ridiculous as that sounds, in the 90s. You know, you didn't have people breaking kayfabe quite as much. People didn't telegraph what was happening. The matches were at a slower pace. And you actually did have people like Mick Foley being thrown off the top of giant cages through tables and actually getting hurt pretty severely. You had people actually occasionally having fatal injuries in the ring. Not that that's a good thing, but things like that happened. And that just made the experience more believable. And even on the WCW side, you had the whole NWO thing was presented as like a corporate takeover, if you will. So just I guess an edgier side of wrestling at the time. And then the era that came after that I thought was really good too. The I guess it was called Ruthless Aggression era. You had Eddie Guerrero that was getting really big and everything. And Stone Cold Steve Austin had changed into more of a comedy top role, which I thought he did phenomenally well at. But anyway, the Reliving the War, this guy goes back and he goes back and he watches every broadcast pretty much that WCW and WWF put out, and he gives them ratings. He compares them head to head, and he shows like what, because I remember when I was a kid, you would do channel surfing. You would flip back and forth from one program to the other, and he'll compare both shows, and he'll say at this time probably viewers were, or when I was a kid, I would have flipped back. I would have flipped this off instantly and switched over to see what WCW was doing, or I would have switched back and forth, blah, blah, blah. And he's right around the point now where the writing for WCW is just terrible. And not that it was ever really all that great. It was kind of like, I think they kind of had a really novel idea with the NWO, and then they never executed it all that well. And WWF just kind of hung in there and took the shots, and finally they just took over when it was time. So kind of like the Muhammad Ali, the rope-a-dope type strategy. But anyway, it's very interesting. He's got all kinds of gags that he throws in. Like there's one, there's all these little bits. Like every time a guy named Steve Blackman comes in, he's got like a remix song for him. And then every time there's the New Age Outlaws, if anybody remembers them, they'd come out, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, blah, blah, blah. And they'd have this whole little speech that they did. Well, every time the guy on the mic that was, I guess, the MC for the group, Road Dogg Jesse James was what they called him. He'll have like a little skit in like a video game or something where he's like, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. And then like the screen will flip off, and it like for one example, he's got like, it's Pac-Man, and his face is on like a ghost in Pac-Man, and it's going around the little maze. And Bret Hart, his face is like the Pac-Man when it gets the super pellet, it runs up and eats him. Bret Hart's like, shut up. And that's a clip from WCW. But the joke is that he got so tired of running through the whole speech so many times, and he he just recycled the clip of Bret Hart saying "shut up" so many times. Like he just used that to cut it off, and it became like a whole little gag in itself. And then there's another one where once again Bret Hart he says, "He's an animal, he's an animal," and then it cuts to Owen Hart in a different promo. "He's an animal, I tell you, he's an animal," and just crazy stuff like that. And let's see, there's another one. Smokey the cat, Bret Hart. Hello to my one fan out there, Smokey, my cat. And then it switches over to this music, and like he's selling a shirt for Smokey the cat. It's called like Smokey's Jams or something. I don't know, but you just have to watch it to get what I'm saying. But like, there's all kinds of these just running gags throughout the series, and he puts a lot of work in these. You can tell. I mean, he must do this like full time. This must be like all he does because the quality of the stuff he's putting out nearly hour-long videos, and he's having to go back and watch all these different programs. He does pay-per-views too, by the way, and like the little side shows, SmackDown Thunder or whatever. I don't know if SmackDown wasn't a thing at this time, I don't think, but WCW Thunder. And he puts in all like these little extra jokes and all this stuff. The video production's great, and it's just I can't imagine how much time it takes. This has got to be all he's doing, but I think once he's finished with the Monday Night Wars, though, I think he said that's it. He doesn't plan to continue the series after that. So, I just think I think it's a pretty entertaining thing that comes on, I think, every Thursday night. So the episode that everybody came here for, Brain Eraser, aired February 25th, 2011. Before we get into it, let's check out some of the things happening in the contextual media section of this show because things have changed. Okay. First and foremost, the music has changed. The number one jam is not Bruno Mars' Grenade now. It is Lady Gaga. I Was Born This Way. And I started to watch this music video and I turned it off. I just skimmed through it very quickly, decided that was not for me. And that's just that. But the one thing I did like the number one dance track. It's called Hello from Martin Solveig and Dragonette. For some reason, I like dance music. I don't know why, but I like listening to the synthesizers and just the beats and all that jazz. And I don't like them all, but I do like some of these things. It's like I skipped over them. I like going back and listening to them. So yeah, that's a good one. Number one UK song, Someone Like You, Adele. I'm sure probably everybody's heard that one. They played that nonstop in one of the gyms I went to there for probably 2 years straight. Let's see, number one R&B song, Moment for Life, Nicki Minaj featuring Drake. Don't know about that one. Someone Else Calling You Baby, that's Luke Bryan. That's number one country song. I remember Steve Austin interviewed him one time. I remember somebody, it was a pretty good interview actually, but I remember somebody that I worked with posted on Facebook one time. He said, "Dear country girl, would you please shake it so Luke Bryan would shut the up?" And I thought yeah, because that's all you'd hear on the radio around here. Because in the town I lived in at the time, you could only pick up two radio stations. One was the very generic blend. I wouldn't even call it like top 40. It was just, it just is what it is. They play stuff now that like I would listen to, but like everything just felt like this bland shade of like when you mix all the colors together, you just get like this shade of brown. That's how I would describe this radio station. Not that it's a bad one. It just felt like it had no life to it. About the most interaction I ever had with them or ever listened to them was to see if the schools were closed. And the other radio station was like the Country Giant or something. And I just can't stand modern country music. I sorry, if you like it, you like it. That's great. But that's all I got to listen to when I grew up. And actually I'm fond of that stuff now. I'm fond of like the 90s country. And I've really always liked 60s, 70s, and 80s country for what it is. Looking back, it's like the production values aren't the greatest, but at the same time, it's kind of like the stories behind some of that stuff. It's just fun. In the 90s country, I enjoy that just, I guess, for nostalgic purposes. There's some good stuff. I still like going back and listening to George Strait, maybe some Garth Brooks type stuff. But the modern country, especially around this time, this is when country kind of maybe about '08. Country really maybe '09. Let's see. When Tim McGraw and Nelly put out that song, which would have been, I think, when I was in high school. I don't know. Probably '07, '08, something like that. Maybe a little bit before that. That's when country music really started to change. It had started before then, but then it was like, okay, hip hop country crossover. And then you get into people putting wah pedals on banjos and stuff. And it's like, when did the banjo even get into country music? And that just infuriated me because I play bluegrass and I'm like, them guys aren't even really playing the banjo. They're just, that's not even a banjo. That's a 6-string guitar with a banjo resonator on it, Keith Urban. And it just infuriated me at the time. I don't know why I really cared all that much, but and then country music around this time really started to change. Like you started to get like rappers in country and stuff, and I just blocked it all out. Okay, I mean, just full disclosure here. But yeah, that really, like, I could relate to that. I was like, yes, country girl, whoever you are, wherever you're at, please do shake it to where they will stop playing this song on the radio. And that's nothing against Luke Bryan. I reckon he seems to be a pretty good guy from at least what Steve Austin said. So cool. Um, let's see. And then the number one alternative hit, Vivo. I'm sorry, not Vivo. That's the channel. Boy, oh boy, I can read. Shake Me Down, Cage the Elephant. I played that one last time. That's the one I thought, hey, my headphones might be messed up because the drums sound weird. I think what was happening was I was running my DAW, my DAW Reaper. I was running that at the same time as the video or something was, maybe it was a driver with my interface. Something was going on. I don't know. Anyway, oh, forgot to mention, there was actually one more radio station, 1035 WIMZ, classic rock. So, yeah, about 7th, 8th grade, I switched over to classic rock and I stayed on that and eventually moved back to 50s and 60s and Elvis and Roy Orbison and Buddy Holly. And then I worked my way through all the way up and I stopped right before you got to the 90s. And sad as it is, I didn't discover 90s rock, which is probably my favorite genre now. I didn't discover that really, didn't really get into that until several years later because after the rock and everything, I got into the whole bluegrass era. So, yeah. Anyway, now we got more radio stations here. We have 99.3, which plays all the different eras, and it just seems like they play pretty good music in general. So, yeah. Even the stuff that was going on in high school that I missed, all that good stuff. So, good stuff now. But anyway, yes, those are your number one songs. And let's go to the, I guess, box office here. The movies have changed. We don't have the same number 1, 2, 3, 4, all that jazz. Number one is Hall Pass. I have seen bits and pieces of this movie. It is an Owen Wilson movie with, what's that guy? That other guy from Saturday Night Live. I think his name's Andy. I can't remember his name. I'm sorry. He's also on that movie Horrible Bosses, which I think is, if you can get past some of the language in that, a lot of that movie is very hilarious. He's on Horrible Bosses too as well. He's kind of like the slimy character. He seems to play a pretty good slimy guy. But this movie, it's one of those ones. It kind of does surprise me that it's number one because it, in my mind, I haven't seen the whole thing, but I've seen parts of it, and it just kind of seems to. I can say that for just about all these movies, but it seems to be one of those movies that just kind of gets lost in the wash of all the other Owen Wilson movies. It's not as good as Starsky and Hutch. It's not as good as Yumi and Dupree or something like that. It's, for the parts I saw, it was okay. It was like, yeah, it's cool. It's an Owen Wilson movie, but it doesn't seem to be like a standout movie. Number two here, Unknown. And what a coincidence, because I know nothing about oh, yes I do. I'm sorry. This is a Liam Neeson movie. And, once you've seen one of those, you've pretty much seen them all. He plays pretty much the same character. At least I'm willing to bet. I haven't seen it. I'm just guessing. And if you like that type of movie, which sometimes I do like that type of movie, if you sit down and you watch them, they're pretty good movies, but it kind of takes some jury rigging for me to sit down and watch one of these because it's like I've already seen that one, when in reality I haven't already seen it. But I think I have in my mind because all of them look like Taken to me on the cover and everything. So, yeah, number 3 is Just Go With It. And that, once again, one of those ones that kind of get lost in the wash, I'm guessing. I've never seen it, but I believe this is an Adam Sandler movie. And I think it's got, what's her name? Rachel. Rachel. Jennifer Aniston. I think that's the one. If I'm thinking of, I've never seen it, but I'm guessing it's probably not as good as Billy Madison or Happy Gilmore or The Wedding Singer or any of those peak Adam Sandler movies, because you don't hear many Adam Sandler fans talk about it. Okay, I don't know. Maybe I'll have to go back and watch it. Let's see. Number 4. It's pretty easy to remember. I Am Number 4. That's literally the name of the movie. I know nothing about it. Romeo and Juliet is number 5. I've actually seen that movie. I don't remember a thing about it, except I didn't care for it. Sorry. Justin Bieber, Never Say Never, number 6. Big Mamas, Like Father, Like Son, number 7. King's Speech. We're back to where we were now. I guess that was on the last time I did this. And then Drive Angry, number 9. Video games coming out February. The only one that came out February 2011 that I can find is Bulletstorm Full Clip Edition. And I remember that was like an arcade type shooter. I think you had like bullet time just to see how many. I never played it, but I saw clips of it being played. I decided I wasn't going to spend my money on it. It kind of looked fun though. Whole lot of bullet type chaos. So that's about all I got for all the other jazz. Let's get into the episode. So, Brain Eraser is the 10th episode in Season 2, production code 210. Aired first in the U.S. on February 25th, 2011. In the U.K., it aired September 14th, 2011. It's directed by Mike Roth. It's written and storyboarded by Kat Morris and an uncredited Shion Takeuchi. Hopefully I said it right this time. I'm not sure that I did. I apologize if I did not. And I believe I mentioned that a few episodes back. I think this is the last episode she is involved with on the regular show. At least for the short term, probably the long term. Because she went to do stuff for Gravity Falls, if I recall correctly. Synopsis of this story: Mordecai must get the memory of seeing Pops naked out of his head. So, before I go on any further, I gotta say, the content of this episode alone makes it one of the more memorable episodes of the regular show. It may not be the best episode, maybe not be the best quality episode, I should say. But this is one of those episodes where I wanted to watch it with as many people as I could before talking about it, because seeing their reaction is actually probably just as funny as seeing the episode itself. And with that in mind, I did have a guest lined up. I was going to have my dad on the show, but he got sick last minute, so we couldn't do that. But I did talk to him about it, and I'm glad I did, because he brought up some things, just other viewpoints that I hadn't thought about that we'll talk about as we go along. I'm not sure if he was right or not, but it doesn't matter, because sometimes the great thing about art or shows or music or something is they make you nostalgic for things from your own life, or even things that didn't actually really happen. Okay, so things that did not happen in reality. You hear a song and it takes you back to a time in your life that didn't actually happen. That's a powerful song. Okay, this episode or this show is kind of powerful for that. You'll see a reference, and it's like, man, that's got to be referencing something. I just can't quite put my foot on it. But yeah, my father had some good insight, I would say, some things that I had never thought of. So we'll talk about that as we go along. But yeah, so this episode is it's one of those ones that I wouldn't say that it's necessarily the best representative episode of the regular show, but it's one of those ones that if somebody wanted to watch, or if they wanted to watch the regular show, this would be one of the ones I showed them, just because I would want to see the look on their face when they watch it. So yeah, there's the synopsis. And the characters in this show that we're talking about, I guess let's go to the cast. That'll give us the characters as well. J.G. Quintel is Mordecai. William Salyers is Rigby. Pops and Benson is Sam Marin. So you got your three guys right there. Mark Hamill, Skips. Margaret is Janie Haddad. And then we get Eileen. I think this may be the first time we see Eileen in the series. And she's voiced by Mindy Lewis. And this always gets me too. Is it Mindy or Minty? It's one or the other. It's Minty or Mindy. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. But she does a great job voicing Eileen, whoever she is. I believe it's Mindy, but I am not sure. And that's kind of shameful because her name is nowhere near as weird as mine. Anyway, VG. I don't recall who VG is, but Roger Craig Smith, he's kind of like one of their utility guys for this series, if you've kind of been following along with the cast. He voices VG. Who is VG? I do not remember. VG. I don't know. Oh, VG's. Yeah, okay. He's probably the guy that works at the movie store. We'll get into it. Yeah. Let's see. Anything we need to get out of the way before we watch this? Let's, I guess, look at some of the trivia. This is the first regular show episode to air during Cartoon Network's, let's see, Hall of Game Awards. The second being Do or Dapper. There's a couple connections here. So basically, the bouncy castle that we're going to see in this episode is also the bouncy castle from Just Set Up the Chairs. If you recall, there was one there at the party that they were bringing the special entertainment to. A bouncy castle was there. And then images of the following episodes can be seen. I'm not going to tell you why. I don't want to spoil it yet, but you can see images from the episodes of Death Punchies, Free Cake, Mordecai and the Rigby's, The Unicorns Have Got to Go, Just Set Up the Chairs, Caffeinated Concert Tickets, Prank Callers, and Meet Your Maker. So a lot of stuff from season 1. There's some callback stuff to or just clips from season 1, basically. You're going to see a Sailor Moon reference. I mean, that one kind of stuck out to me. Well, I'll talk about that when we get there, because that one was just obvious to me. And it's not just Sailor Moon. It's, let's see, it says Astro Boy and then Dragon Ball Z. That one was kind of obvious too. They're all made kind of like at the same time. If I can remember, we'll come back to the goofs at the end. Production notes. J.G. Quintel was afraid that this episode would only air once due to its subject matter, and I can kind of see why. To his surprise, this episode was made and aired without any complaints and continues to air in reruns in the USA. This episode received 1.551 million viewers, making it at the time the least viewed episode of the series until the airing of Muscle Woman a few weeks later. So I guess there was a little bit of a downtrend here around this time, which is crazy because I think, in my opinion, the show's just really started to pick up a little bit. So and they even kind of, not to get too far off track, but in the main last season, they do like a Matrix reference where they go see, I guess, like the Oracle or whatever. And she does like a meta overview of the whole series. And we'll talk about that more in depth when we get there. That's going to be a ways away, but she talks about like how certain seasons took a dip. It's very self-aware at that point, the show is. So yeah, anyway, I guess this is one of those dips. I don't know, but this episode's just crazy. That's the only way I know how to put it. So let's see. I guess the only thing to do now is to start it. So here we go. So the episode starts out with same old birds chirping, the nothingness screen. And we're at the park. So yes, we are outside. So we should hear birds chirping. Go inside, and first thing we see, player 1 wins. And obviously that's kind of a callback to, well, the whole series really, but Death Punchies. Mordecai's always player 1, and he's always beating Rigby. And I don't know, give you 2 guesses as to what they're playing. It doesn't really reveal it, at least yet. I don't know if it does by the end. I think it probably does, but at least yet. But I'm betting they're probably playing like Strong Johns. Anyway, Rigby's, this stupid thing's throwing me off. And he reaches underneath the cushion, and there's a magazine. And it's an issue of Pops' Mustache Monthly. It's just it's a black cover, and it's a face with a mustache on it. And Mordecai, he's like, Pops has been looking for that for weeks. You got to take it to him. And Rigby says, no way. He says, that'll mess up my sweet butt cheek groove. And he gets up from the couch, and there's this is this is really something to talk about, actually, as dumb as that sounds. But there's one, the butt cheek groove in the couch is the callback to the, is it, is it Death Punchies? Yes, it's Death Punchies again. Yeah. Where he's the one cheek wonder, the one cheek wonder, all that. Hope you're not trying to win with cheeks like that, But yeah, it's that. But this is also obviously, I mean, I would be willing to bet money. This is evidence of the inspiration that regular show took from The Simpsons. This is a direct pull from one of the Simpsons episodes. Homer talks about having a butt groove in the couch that he's worn in over the years. In fact, that's how one of the episodes end. He's like wiggling around on the couch to try to reset his butt groove because they'd been gone from the house for so long. And the episode actually ends on that song "Groove Me Baby." I think that's the song. It's been forever since I've seen that episode, but this, I'm willing to bet, is a Simpsons reference. And that makes sense because I think The Simpsons is probably, if I had to guess, and I think I've probably read this somewhere, that The Simpsons is the number one, at least one of the top inspirations for the regular show. So that makes total sense. But anyway, now they're going to play rock, paper, scissors to see who has to take the magazine to Pops. And Mordecai actually loses. He throws rock, which actually seems more like a Rigby move to me. But I don't know. Rigby just seems too lazy to undo his fist, or that, or he thinks that rocks are just more manly or something. I don't know. But Mordecai throws rock and he loses. So Rochambeau, he's got to go upstairs to take the issue to Pops. And I mean, we just hit the ground running here. Okay. I had to go back and watch this scene again. If you guys don't watch these episodes, I highly recommend you just go watch this one, just because the probably 75% of the humor here is just, this is actually a pretty well written episode, but 75% of the humor is just the visual aspect of this. He goes upstairs, and I mean, they don't waste any time in this episode. Mordecai says, "Yo, Pops, I got your issue here," and he lays it down on like this ottoman that's in Pops's room. And once again, we've got these pictures of Pops in the background, him just making these, I don't know, type gestures. They're all over the house, but they've been replaced since Party Pete. But anyway, before Pop says anything, you hear, ah! And you see, how do I phrase this? Like the camera is shooting the backside of Pops. So you see his bare hind end, and it's going like, he's like straddling the camera, I guess. And you're seeing Mordecai look at the front end of Pops, butt naked. And that's what you're seeing. And then the camera cuts to, and it is crazy because Pops has got like these stubbly hairs on his legs and stuff. And yeah, it's just like bubblegum pink, and anyway, the camera cuts to Mordecai's face, and it's the face that he's making. It's like all scrunched up, and he's like, and he's trying to, like he's, I don't know, like there's almost like there's a light that shine, like, like if you shine a dog, like in someone's, a dog, if you shine like a light in like a dog's face, like they're just waking up or something, they make like a snarly face, that's kind of, there's a backstory in that, but that's kind of the face Mordecai's making. Yeah, the story there. Sorry, when I got a what do you call them? They're called Motto Red, but it's one of those red light therapy devices. It was pretty strong, and this was several years back when I used to work for Superhuman Radio. I got one, and I actually brought them on board of the company when I was doing like, I don't know if it would be considered marketing for the company or whatever, but I got the dude on board, Scott Chiveri, I think his name is. Pretty cool product, but red light therapy is really cool too. If you are looking for pain therapy or just all sorts of different benefits, a little bit of melanocortin activation or collagen synthesis or a lot of other. There's all kinds of things that red light therapy is being used to promote for health and longevity. But anyway, I got one of those, and there is near infrared, and you can't really see that. Okay, I mean it's out. Technically, it's outside of the visible light spectrum, but you can see like little tiny red dots that are in the red spectrum. And then there's the red light. When you turn on that red light, it's bright. I mean, it's like boom. It's like Kramer off Seinfeld, Kenny Rogers Chicken or whatever, that type of sign bright, if you know what I'm talking about. But we had this little poodle schnauzer type dog, schnoodle. I don't know what you call him. We still got it in the house. It's called Rocket. You probably hear it barking in the background every once in a while. It was walking through one day and I didn't even notice. And I had that light on my back and I got up. Either that or I flipped the light on. And the dog was just walking through and the light come on. I didn't think nothing about it. And it was just walking and it was so bright when it hit the dog turned like a backflip. Like it hit the dog and it knocked the dog over. Just the light itself. I guess it thought like, I don't know, this is the end for me or something. But it was like a train hit the dog. Like the light hit it and it knocked it over. It was fine, but it scared the crap out of the dog. But the face that like something will make when a really bright light hits its face, it'll snarl it up. That's the face that Mordecai's making right there. And yeah, and then we see, let's see, I've got to go back and watch this one more time. Okay, upon further inspection, the camera, Pops has one of his legs propped up on a chair, and I don't know what he's doing, but he's got his right leg propped up on like a desk or a chair or something. Mordecai's, I guess, staring at his junk, and they got the rule of threes going on. Yeah, Mordecai goes, ah, and then Pops goes, ah, and then it goes back to Mordecai, ah, and then Pop says, ah, and there's a top hat by his foot, and Mordecai screams one more time, and Pops takes the top hat and he screams, and he puts it over his junk, and then he takes his hand down there's some innuendo there, but I won't get into that. But yeah, you can infer for yourself, whatever. But he's standing there with this top hat over his junk, and I don't know. I don't think this is Pop's hair, or if this was supposed to be at the time, or if like he had, maybe it was supposed to be. But I at the time I always thought it was like maybe shaving cream because he shaved his head or shampoo or something. But this might be his hair. I don't know, or like a hair net. But there's something on his head. But anyway, I gotta watch this one. Mordecai covers his eyes, and then they run up to each other. Mordecai tries to run out of the room with his eyes shut. He goes, ah, and he takes his hand off his face, and they like get right in each other's face. And they do the whole thing where one person tries to go left, and they both go left the same. They both go the same way at the same time. And then they try to go back the other way, and they keep trying to situate around each other. They're going, and they keep trying to like slide by each other without touching each other, but they can't. Pops is holding onto that hat, and then they go back and forth, back and forth. And they do it like 6 or 7 times, and then finally they just run past each other. And Mordecai runs downstairs, and he's like freaked out. He's like, "Dude, stop playing for just a minute, please. I got to tell you something." And it turns out he hasn't went blind like Hank does on King of the Hill when he sees something he doesn't want to see. But I just got to say one more time that 10 seconds of footage right there, or animation, one of the big things in that is just the expressions on their faces. It's so unlike really anything I've seen on regular show up to this point, and maybe that I can recall like really seeing it, like really goes into like it almost looks like their face is going to fold back on itself, like really like distorted looking, like it's gritty looking animation almost, but it's got its own, it has a unique type of humor to it that I don't recall at least seeing up to this point. But yeah, this is probably, I mean, it's edgy, but I mean, I wouldn't say it's like, super shock value edgy. Like when I hear that term, at least I automatically just assume that, well, they're doing something just to get a rise out of people, just to either upset them or whatever, because some people think it's funny to upset other people, whatever. I don't know. But this isn't that type of edgy. This is literally, there is just humor in this. This is just a very ironic, humorous situation. And it's just something that's like, yeah, it's awkward, but it's really funny at the same time. So Anyway, he runs downstairs and he's trying to tell Rigby, and Rigby's still playing the game. So he pauses, and Mordecai's like, when I went upstairs, I tried to just give Pops his magazine, but he was getting out of the shower. And Rigby's like, yeah, so. And Mordecai says, and he didn't have a towel on. And he's like, and then I saw his, and then Rigby goes, and he's scratching his chest with his pinky. He goes, his junk mail. And Mordecai's like, no, yes. And he's like, every wrinkly, saggy, shriveled up pasty. And then Rigby goes, whoa, 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 whoa. Don't put it in my head. And Mordecai tries to put the blame on him. And he's like, this is all your fault. So he's like, you got to help me. And he's like, fine, I'll help you if you promise to stop talking about it. So this isn't a montage, but it's kind of one of those things where they try a few things and, they all fail predictably. But they go to the arcade first. And this is where I got Strong Johns from. Okay, I remember now. It's been a couple weeks since I've seen this episode, but they start playing Strong Johns at the arcade. So John's beating up John on the screen. And then all of a sudden, Mordecai, you could probably kind of predict this is going to happen. Mordecai, like, he sees Pops on screen, and it's a naked Pops, except there's like bath bubbles covering up his unmentionables. And it's like John turns into a Pops, and then the other John turns into a Pops. Mordecai runs out, and he's like, Mordecai, wait. And then the next place they go is the coffee shop. And Rigby's like, if this doesn't take your mind off Pops, nothing will. So Mordecai's like, what, coffee? And Rigby says, no, dude. And he takes his head and he turns it and he goes, Margaret. And Margaret's over there taking somebody's order. And she walks, and he's like nudging him, and Mordecai's like, all right. And she comes over there and she's like, hey guys, can I take your order? But Mordecai is looking up as she says that. And it's not her face that he sees, it's Pops' face asking, the big grin on his face, He's like, and he takes off running out of there. And the next place they go is the movie shack hut, because they're going to rent a movie. I hadn't thought about this, but this is a very 90s thing right here. Like 80s, late 80s, 90s type thing right here. Just going and renting VHS tapes. Probably the generation that watched this probably weren't all that familiar with what VHS tapes were, or even renting. Maybe they still rented movies back in 2011. I'm not sure. Probably around here you had to, because they probably had Redbox by that time. Yeah, I'm sure there was a Redbox around that time. There used to be these brick and mortar businesses you would go to, and they smelled like carpet. For some reason, they all smelled like carpet, which is kind of a nostalgic smell in itself. And they all sold packages of popcorn that nobody ever bought, so they just sat there. But you would go and you would pick out these little, like, what they would do is they would put the movie cases up on these shelves, and if the movie was in, they would put a copy of it behind that case. And if there were no cases behind it, that means they were all rented out, and you had to go pick something else, or you just had to leave. And they also rented out games. Examples of this included Blockbuster. Let's see, Hollywood Video, was that one of them? Movie Gallery. That's what we had here, was a movie gallery. Anyway, they go to Movie Shack Hut, and Rigby's idea is, hey, we're going to rent some movies to get your mind off this. Now, as they walk into the store, Mordecai's perusing the aisles, and one thing that caught my attention was a poster in the background, and it says Buck Hunt on it. B-U-C Hunt. H-U-N-T. Yeah, that's how you spell hunt. And I don't know, I can't think of what this would be referencing, if anything. I mean, Deer Hunter was like a popular computer, well, it wasn't really popular, but it was a computer game back in the 90s. I don't know what it'd be referencing, but it's weird because it's got like a crab or a spider monster or something on there, like a purple spider. I don't know, but Mordecai, anyway, he's looking at the shelves, and all the videos have a naked Pops with his top hat on, and he's doing all these different poses, kind of like the pictures in the house, and he's just like, and he's covering his eyes. He's, and Rigby says, see anything you like? And he's going, no, I don't. So Rigby says, I'll see if they have any copies of Good Cop, Sad Cop. So then he goes up to the front clerk, and he lays down 4 VHS cases, and he says, you got any Good Cop, Sad Cop? And the guy's like, oh yeah, here, let me check. And he's watching something on the screen, and he's like, no, we don't have any. And he's like, hey, what is that you're watching? And this is the anime reference. So the first thing you see is, it's probably the first noticeable thing that I saw was a Dragon Ball Z type reference. It kind of looks like a dude like Vegeta shooting like a key blast or light or whatever it is out of his hand and blowing something up. But then the screen goes inwards, and it's like the dude kind of looks like Astro Boy. And then you kind of see like a Sailor Moon type thing, and the dude's like shooting stars out of his eyes, and he's like, "What is this?" And he's like, "It's Planet Starlight Chasers Excellence." And he's like, "How do you watch this? It's like somebody's vomiting rainbows or something." And he goes, "I watch Planet Starlight Chasers Excellence every day, all day," or something to that effect. And Rigby asked him, he's like, "Will that be all for you?" And he's like, "I guess, unless my friend has anything over there he wants." And it camera cuts back to Mordecai, and he's looking at a cardboard cutout that says cowboy. And the cowboy's got his leg propped up on a box, just like Pops had his leg propped up on the table. And the cowboy, I believe, has a mustache too. And Mordecai's like, ugh. And so he's like, "I guess just these." That's what Rigby says. And maybe this is when he asks him, "How do you watch that?" And the guy repeats the same thing. He's like, "I watch Planet Starlight Chasers Excellence all day, every day." And the guy's like, he's like a zombie at this point. He's just like mumbling stuff. And he's like, "Yeah, you've already said that." And something to point out about this guy, this is another example of that precursor to the excellence cap. It's white and blue, white with the blue bill. So yeah, there's another spotting for you. So yeah, then basically Rigby's like, after he says, "You've already said that," to the "I watch it all day, every day," they go through that same cycle 2 or 3 times, and the guy just keeps repeating all day, every day. And then it cuts back to the video every now and then, and it shows like the same recycled clip of somebody shooting another guy in a cape. Come to think of it, one of the guys kind of looks like a dude off of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. The guy in like the black tuxedo looking thing with the red cape and the long blonde hair. But anyway, he kind of looks like Dio or something off of that. But yeah, anyway, it doesn't matter. That anime is just so cringy, but it's yeah, whatever. It's one of them things. I guess it's so cringy that people just love it. I've never said I could never make it through that whole anime. I mean, I just can't. I can't even make it through like the first arc. I'm just like, really? I don't know. This is like heavy metal, the anime, except it's not actually heavy metal. You know, the one that Kevin Eastman from, Ninja Turtles fame, he got back involved in the magazine of heavy metal, and then they got an anime. And no, not that one. No, like if heavy metal were an anime, the music heavy metal were an anime. It's just kind of goofy in my opinion. But anyway, we're not here to talk about JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. If you like that show, that's great. I really like that bass theme that Davey 504 plays. The Giovanni, his theme. Yeah, the Golden Wing theme. Anyway, that's one good thing about that anime. But anyway, Rigby gets an idea, and he's like, "Okay, I'm just going to borrow this tape." And he takes it out, and the guy's still going all day, every day. And it cuts back to the park, and Rigby gets this idea. He's like, "Dude," basically he's thinking, if I can get Mordecai to watch this, he'll forget all about Pops because it'll just consume his life. So he gets him in there, and he's like, "All right, watch it." And Mordecai's like, "No, I'm not watching anything. I'm not looking at anything ever again. All I'll ever see when I look at something is Pop's naked." And he's got his eyes covered. And they go back to that whole bit from L.O. Governor where, Mordecai was like, "Look at it." And Rigby's like, "Let me go. Look at it." And, except this time it's Rigby going, "Look at it." Mordecai's going, "No, leave me alone. Just get away. Look at it. Look at it." And he's like, "I'm not going to look." And he pulls his hands down. Then he sees the video, and then his pupils get real big and just everything stops. Like he just stops moving, and he's just like consumed by this video. And I forgot to mention, there's like this, I don't know if I'd call it K-pop. I guess I would. Type music playing. Uh, and while it's going on, the same old recycled clips from this little Planet Starlight Chasers being played, and which in itself is kind of funny because it's like that used to be done in animation. Sometimes they'd use like the same old recycled clips. It was done a lot in shows like Power Rangers, which was not animation, but or Super Sentai, I guess I should say. Anyway, Mordecai's being like consumed by this videotape, and Rigby's like, "Yes." And then his body like starts to rise. And this is kind of crazy because we're like at, I don't know, we're only 4 minutes, 25 seconds in, something like that, 4 minutes, 10 seconds. And surreal stuff starts happening. So we're a little bit ahead of schedule here, but like film, like magnetic tape, basically, that you would use for movie films, starts coming out of Mordecai's eyes, and it's got like clips of his memories in it, and it's being consumed by the tape. And once it pulls all of them out, the screen just says "the end" on it, and he lays back down, and then Rigby's like waving his hand in front of Mordecai's face. And at this point, Mordecai is basically Cloud in Final Fantasy VII after the Northern Crater incident. He's just like a lifeless. He's just, he has no thoughts for himself. He's just dull and thoughtless at this point. He's a zombie pretty much. So everything Rigby does, he's getting like no response from Mordecai except for drool running out of Mordecai's mouth. Like he's just sitting there in the dazed expression with his mouth hanging open, and there's drool coming out of his mouth. So he's like, let's get you some coffee. And they take him to the coffee shop. And he's like, hey, Margaret, we get some coffee. Better make that espresso. And Margaret comes over and he's like, hey, Mordecai, how you doing? And all he does is go, and Margaret walks back over. And I think this is the first time we see Eileen, if I'm not mistaken. But Eileen, something interesting, her eyes aren't white at this point. Like she just has little dots for pupils on her face. Like they're not like whited out eyeballs. But anyway, Eileen says, is Mordecai ignoring you? And she goes, is it just me? Margaret says, is it just me, or does Mordecai look like he's been working out? The camera cuts back to Mordecai's face, and it's just that stupid, his mouth's like wide open, and he's just staring off at the ceiling on that always gets me, because it's like, what? I don't know if that's like a joke on maybe Mordecai just looks tired or what, but it's ridiculous. He just looks so stupid sitting there, he's like, his eyes are like halfway open and his mouth's just hanging open like he has no thoughts of his own. But yeah, that joke for whatever reason always cracks me up. Speaking of which, it's that time in the episode. You know who else watched this show? That's right, my mom watched this show, and my dad did too. But yes, my mother watched this show, and it was at this point when she said, it just looked like Mordecai's been working out, and cuts to his face. At this point, she did have a big reaction. It was just one of them crap, like that's the dumbest thing ever. But there's just something about this image that it just catches you off guard, and you just can't help but chuckle. It's one of those type jokes. So Rigby, he's like, dude, come on, snap out of it. It's just like old times. It's just you and me now. We're gonna go have fun, just like the old days. So we go to like a mini montage where they only do two things, but first thing they do is they go to the yet to be named, I believe, Stardust Lanes, the bowling alley. I think it's Stardust Lane, Stardust or Starlight, one or the other. Anyway, they put on their bowling suits, and it's Rigbone and Murder-Kai, and they go bowling, and of course Mordecai, he's still a zombie. And then the next thing they do is they go and they wait till Muscle Man parks his car, and they throw sliced bologna on it. And when I say they, I mean Rigby, because Mordecai ain't doing anything, and Rigby's like, get me back, my friend. So what do? They get to the portion of the show where they go to find Skips. And he's like, he's been like this ever since we watched that video. And of course, Skips, he just skips right to exactly the point. He's like, was it Planet Starlight Chasers excellent? And Rigby's like, yeah, how'd you know? Skip says, we got to watch the tape. So then they sit down and they put the tape in, and immediately the little film goes from their eyes into the screen, and they're like, hey, Mordecai. They're in the tape at this point. And they're like, hey, Mordecai, there's Mordecai. Where'd he come from? And he's like, we're in the tape, dude. I'm like, good, we're here to rescue you. And he goes, what's the point? And no matter where I go, I'm just going to see Pops naked. So Skips figures out, hey, we've got to change your memory. Okay, so they go, he's like, there's the door to your memory. So they just walk over to this door, and it's like Mordecai's memories. And they go through it. And at this point, they're going through, like, the show does a much better job of, you just kind of get the gist of what's going on when you see it. But they're going through, they're sifting through Mordecai's various memories to try to find the memory of him seeing Pops naked and change it. And the first thing they come through is the coffee shop, and it's just a bunch of, they're walking through the coffee shop, and there's a whole bunch of Mordecai and Rigby's there, and it's basically just different interactions between them and Margaret, and it just represents all these memories that they had. And, a bunch of them, they're just laughing and pointing at stuff, but one of them, Mordecai's got Rigby held over the table, punched him in the gut, and Rigby's like, hey, yeah, I remember that. And Skip says, this isn't the one we're looking for. And they said, no, I got to find the memory of Pops naked. We got to get back to the house. So then they go through the exit there, and then they just, magically show up in the video shop, and the guy's there all day, every day. And like, no, this isn't the one. And Skips is like, memory isn't logical. Let's keep going. And then they open the door and it takes them to the park. And then Mordecai's like, okay, now we're getting somewhere. Then they go inside the house and they get to the staircase, and then things get weird. Like the staircase elongates, it gets really big, and then all of a sudden it starts twisting, and it takes on like the MC Escher type of artwork, where the staircases look like they just twist and go different directions and all this stuff. And they start walking up those. And they get to Pop's room, and there's all these pictures on the wall, by the way. They're just like various eye shots and stuff, like the pictures staring at them as they walk up the hallway. And they open up the door. They're at Pop's room. They open it up, and Pops is standing there, butt naked. He's turned, you only see his backside, but I guess he doesn't know they're there. And Ruby's like, "Oh, gross!" And Skip says, "Quick, cover him up with that blanket." So they go and get a blanket, but then they step on a board and it creaks. And the Pops hears it, and he turns around, and his eyes get real big, and he laughs, and he starts running from him, like just the thought of that. There's this, I don't know, this old naked dude just running around. You got to catch me, But he jumps up on the wall, and he's. It's kind of like the honestly what this puts me in mind of when I'm saying you can't catch me and all that. It's the dude off early Family Guy, the greased up guy. For whatever reason, they always try to catch him. I don't remember what his name is or anything, but he's on a few of the early Family Guy episodes. But this is what this reminds me of. But Pop starts like crawling up and down the wall like Spider-Man, or like, I don't know, like the Exorcist or something. He starts like crawling up the wall backwards. And he's still naked, and he runs out the door. So then they run out the door, and they end up in the park again, and they see Pops. He's running out of the bush, and he's looking at him, just laughing, ha ha ha. And it's ridiculously crazy. But he runs through a big crowd of Bensons. There's just like 20 something Bensons standing there, and then they got to run through them. They're like, all you hear is "Clean this mess up, or you're fired, you're fired, you're fired," and it's coming from all directions. And it's just basically that's all their memories of Benson is "Clean this mess up, or you're fired." Yeah, I mean that's it. Like, it's just you're fired. There's no good memories of Benson at this point. So they run through it's weird. It's in the park, but it's like a turnstile door. So they run through that, and it takes them into the living room, but it's like an enlarged version of the living room where the couches are humongous and they're really small. And this doesn't last long. They just run across the floor into like this trap door that's along the floor, and they run down that into what you think is going to be a cellar, but it ends up being just like basically an earthen ground. And the background is just like the opening theme, the nothingness, the purple and black. And they're running, and Rigby's like, "This is useless. We're never going to catch him. How's he so fast?" And Mordecai's like, "I don't know. I just remember everything happening so fast. I mean, I put down the magazine, and Pops was just right there." And then the Mustache Monthly or Mustache Weekly magazine comes falling out of the sky, and it hits Mordecai in the face. And that's when they put it all together with the help of Skips. You've got to remember Pop's going slowly. You need to be in control of your memories. So at this point now we have a strategy for Mordecai to catch Pops and cover him up. So Mordecai starts using his memories, and he's not very good at it to begin with, because the only thing he can summon is the back half of a golf cart. So he tries harder, and he gets the front half, and they get in and they start chasing Pops, and we get, another obligatory shot of Pops smiling and running naked, and you can only see the back half of him, but it's just the image is just hilarious. But he's running, and they're catching up to him, and Ruby's like, "Remember that time we ate all that cereal?" And he's like, "Yeah, we must have eaten a million boxes because you wanted that lame Strong John's figurine." So all these, like, they look like Fruit Loops or Cheerios or something, start falling down, and they're like getting in the way of Pops, and he's having to run around them and stuff. And then Mordecai says, "I remember that time Margaret had that lame big boyfriend," I think from the Fist Pump episode. But and this big old giant dude comes falling down, like trying to step on Pops and step on them and everything. But the thing about it is I don't think this is whatever that guy's name was, Shredder or Ripper, whatever his name was. I don't remember what the guy's name was. The one that told Mordecai to quit pumping it in the wind and start pumping it in the gym. I think this is actually just another model of one of the Strong John's guys. But he falls down, and he's trying to crush them all, and, they're all trying to weave in and out of him. And the next thing Mordecai says, he's like, he says Margaret's boyfriend's always word lame. But then the next obstacle he throws up, he says, "I remember that really steep cliff at the end of the park." So then a big steep cliff appears, and Pops just keeps running. He's just going to jump off of it, and he does jump off of it. And then Mordecai stops, and he backs up, and he does like a little, he turns around, and he just floors it off of the cliff. They're like, "What are you doing?" He's like, I'm covering up that image," or something like that. And he actually catches up to Pops with a blanket, and he covers it up. And there's a couple things that happen, but just just point out, like, this just shows, I mean, obviously it's a cartoon, but we are in Mordecai's memories now because, like, real physics, he wouldn't be able to do this. I mean, even with wind resistance, the acceleration of gravity, 9.8 meters per second squared, you're getting that. Pops has already been falling for, you know, 2 or 3 seconds before they end up going off that cliff. They're not catching up to him. I don't care how much the golf cart weighs. Ain't happening. I mean, right? I mean, Pops is not like a feather. There's not a whole lot of wind resistance on him, and he's been falling for 2 or 3 seconds at least before they end up off that cliff. But anyway, he catches up to him with a blanket. And around this time, you see Pops actually turn over and you see the front side of Pops. Except it doesn't show anything. Like there's nothing there. I mean, it's a kid's cartoon, you know. I mean, but he's just laughing the whole time. You know, he's turned over and like he's just like he's having the grandest time just running from them. Mordecai catches up to him with the blanket, covers him up, and he disappears. And they're about to hit the ground, but then all of a sudden, the bouncy castle from Just Set Up the Chairs. Boom, they land in that and it flattens it. Because I think they were like, I remember the time we flattened that bouncy castle at that kid's birthday party or something like that. And the kids that come running from the castle, when they rip a hole in the castle, it's the same kids from Just Set Up the Chairs. The kid with the crown, not crayon, but crown, the little king's crown, you know. Just drive us bus, you slop jockey, or whatever he said. Happy birthday, Jimmy. Yeah, but I think it was a little Jimmy. Anyway, they're like, okay, we did it. How do we get out of here? And then you hear the VG guy. He's like, I think I can help. It's the guy from the video store. And he's like, there's a tape in the wall over there. If you go pull it out, I think it'll take you back where you need to go. And there's like kind of a TV screen on the wall where they see like their zombified bodies sitting on the couch watching the film. And they're like, well, don't you want to go with us? And he's like, no, I'm kind of like being here. I'm kind of into not having to work for the rest of my life. So they go over there and they pull the tape out and the film, the tape comes running out of the VHS case and it goes back in their eyeballs and you hear like the K-pop video. I don't even know what they're saying, honestly. And I don't know if it's K-pop. It's probably Japanese. I don't know. I mean, honestly, I don't know. Wish I did. Probably I should look into that, but I don't think I'd be able to find anything on it either. But anyway, the last thing we get the closing joke. Benson comes in and he's got a towel on. Kind of like with Party P. He was wearing a towel in that episode too. He's like, what are you guys doing? He goes like, I can't even take a shower without you guys screwing stuff up. And then Benson's a gumball machine. And you know, a gumball machine's got like the little dispenser thing where you open up the slot and you get the gumball out. Well, his little slot dispenser thing, it flips up and the towel falls off. And like, that's obviously kind of another one of those innuendo type things. And you just see him kind of like, he stops talking and like his eyes get real big and you can tell he's embarrassed and he just kind of, basically the ending shot is we go back to Skips, Rigby, and Mordecai on the couch. And it's that same old K-pop video playing, and their eyes are real big too, and it cuts away. So yeah, I mean that there was a lot of things that kind of pushed the envelope here, but nothing. I mean, I can see why J.G. Quintel was kind of expecting it to only be aired once, but you know, it's nothing like, I don't know, it's nothing like ill-natured. And I don't think, and it's there's nothing in it that's really super vulgar or anything. There are some suggestive things in there, but and it's kind of pushing the limits for a cartoon. But I mean, honestly, they do it in such a I don't even want to say innocent, but just like a childlike way that it doesn't seem. I don't know. I mean, it might be a little bit pushing the envelope a little bit more than some of the other episodes, but it doesn't seem that far off base compared to what the season 1 episodes were doing, what they were getting away with, you know? So yeah, but, I guess one more thing is, I think it mentioned this on the wiki when I was reading it a while back, but let me go look here. I think it's one of the flub ups is when, Goofs. Let's see right here. When they're sitting there at the main end, irony. Okay, yeah. At the end of the episode, Mordecai mentions Naked Pops because I forgot about Naked Pops. I don't see him anymore. Although, I mean, here's the thing: if he forgot about him and he knows there's Naked Pops, how can he get rid of that mental image? How can he forget about him if he can mention him in the same sentence? If that makes any sense. A couple other things here. One thing. Okay, I caught this one. Eileen's design is different to her following appearances in the episodes, particularly with her eyes. Yeah, that it's pretty noticeable. Um, let's see. In one scene, Skips incorrectly refers to Planet Chaser Starlight Excellent as Planet Starlight Chasers Excellent. Okay. Let's see. However, this could have been intentional since adults often mispronounce novelty. Yes, yes, absolutely. That is, I would imagine that's probably, well, there's probably like a 50-50 that's what it is. Cause yeah, that's, that's definitely, you know, the one thing, and I'll even do it intentionally too, like to my kids in class when they're talking about something that I haven't seen, or even the kids that, there's kids that watch Dragon Ball Super all the time. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, I'm over that show. I'm just, kind of wish I'd never watched it, to be honest with you. But like, I'll tell you, quit watching Dragon Ball Z. And they're like, it's super. Yeah, I'll do that crap all the time, though. I'm like, you're right. Z's way better, even though I don't really care for Z all that much either. But yeah, just to tease them, because I'm old. Let's see. While the gang is chasing Pops in some shots, it says, this is what the wiki says. It says his bare crotch is completely exposed, but I'm paraphrasing here, but his genitalia is not present. This is mostly due to broadcast regulations. Anyway, um, yeah. So there's that, and let's see. Anything else? Oh, the things that Dad pointed out. One thing he thought that this was taking a lot of the dream sequence, especially was take. He's like, it's obviously taking influence from. He's saying that Christopher Nolan movie, that one, where they go in the dream. Inception is what he was talking about, and I guess I can see that because that movie came out in 2010. Although there is an episode, I think it's the brain freeze episode with Thomas, where it is absolutely an Inception homage. I mean, like there's no mistaking it. This one could have been as well, though. And he thinks that obviously that the whole dream, the whole memory sequence is like the Tom Petty music video, Running Down a Dream. And I watched that one, and I mean, I can kind of see the style in it, but I didn't see anything specifically that would just point out. And I kind of tried to look into that to see if there was any connections there. I Googled it and looked around, but I couldn't find anything. It's not to say there wasn't. I tried to actually see if there was any Tom Petty connections at all in the regular show, because I was watching King of the Hill and I'm like, oh, Lucky's on here. So maybe the only thing I could pull up was King of the Hill, stuff. That's even when I was like Tom Petty regular show, like stuff for King of the Hill would come up and be like, he was a regular on the show, seasons 13, so on and so forth. It's like, okay, I'm not going to spend that much time digging into this. But yeah, good episode. Oh yeah, a couple more things. He mentioned a couple movies, I think they were. One was called Videodrome, and the other one was a newer one. The only thing I could find for the Mindscape, which I think is a newer show, maybe like 20. I guess it came out right around 2011. Let me check that real quick. I didn't put two and two together here. Mindscape show. Mindscape series 2011 to 2012. There may have been something, although honestly, the production of both these shows are probably happening well ahead of time. So I don't know. I can see the Inception thing because Quintel and the crew could have seen Inception and then said, okay, now we're going to make this episode. And then a year later it comes out, that they might have had time for that. I don't know about this Mindscape thing though. Maybe though, you never know. The Videodrome, I think, was like an 80s type movie. I remember watching this trailer, but I don't remember much about it. But I'm guessing from the gist of it is like they go inside of a video or something like that. I mean, that's kind of why I like this show. I'm not saying that they are paying tribute to that show, but like you get these obscure references that like these pieces of media that I would have never even thought of on this show. And it's like, it makes me go back and watch these, like the one I've mentioned it before, but the Karate Girl or the Last Karate Girl, whatever, it's titled The Worst Death Scene in History. And it's like so bad it's good. The guy gets shot like 7 times and he takes like 50 seconds and he's just spinning around screaming in slow motion. Uh, That gets me every time. But yeah, this show, it just references a lot of stuff like that. And I don't know, that's what makes this show great. It can draw out these thoughts in all sorts of different thoughts in different people. Like, you may think that it's referencing something completely different than what it is, but it still brings back these memories of things that you've seen before. So that's just part of the genius and the novelty of this show, I think. Maybe not novelty, but yeah, the genius and the setup of this show. Overall, I'd give this episode probably, I don't know, this episode, it just doesn't seem like, I mean, this is one of those episodes that it's like, it gets boosting points just because it was made. Just the idea of this episode, of actually carrying through the actual concept of this episode and seeing it through to the end, whether it's executed perfectly or not, gets it extra points. Because especially when they had it in mind, this is going to be aired this is a suicide mission episode, one and done. It's never getting aired again. I mean, that takes guts. And it also gets bonus points because it's just one of those episodes, like I said, that you show to somebody just to see their reaction. So I'm going to give this episode an 8. Now, if I was just going off of the quality of the episode as just being a regular show episode and not the idea behind it and the execution and all that, it'd probably be a 6.5. Okay. Compared to other, it'd be right around there with Appreciation Day, or, maybe, I don't know, Party Pete. I'd say it's a little bit better than Party Pete. But yeah, there's just all this stuff going on in there that it's like, I can't believe it makes you say, I can't believe they put that out in a good way. So I'm going to say that it gets an 8. Now there will be 10s that we cover that in my mind are way beyond the quality of this episode. But for the good time romp that this episode is, for just being 12 minutes, it's getting the 8. And that might be the first 8 that I've given out. And quite honestly, I think that My Mom is probably a funnier episode, but just some of the stuff in this episode, it's like, I can't believe they got away with that. So yeah, before I repeat myself for the 7th time, I'm probably going to have to cut it here, because that's about all I got to say about it. I mean, I'm sure I'll think of other stuff later on, but yeah, I think next week we have, it's the one with, is it Janet or the new boss? It's not Karen. This is before Karen's. This is before the idea of Karen's, but Benson Be Gone. And that one's I don't know if it's a polarizing episode, but it's definitely brings out some opinions in people. So definitely stay tuned for that one. Appreciate y'all listening. Any follows, likes, subscribes, reviews, feedbacks, whatever you can leave me there to grow the podcast would be very helpful. I think up to this point I've put out I put up my 5th show today. We're almost at Halloween, and I actually have I went back. You'll have heard it already if you listen to the show, but there's there's a Halloween episode that's put together. So yes, there we go on that. But yeah, I think I've had maybe 35 listens altogether, which is 34 more than I thought I would have. I mean, total, all 5 shows. So that's an average of 7 people per show, which is 6 more people than I expect. Well, I'm sorry, 5 more people. Nick Baxter, I know you're out there, and I know you'd probably listen to every show I put out 3 times if I put it out 3 times. Tara, you're probably the same. The other 5 of you, I don't quite know who you are, but I do appreciate you listening. Thank you very much. And hopefully at this point, there's more than 5 of you. Hopefully there's a lot more, but can't get my hopes too high. Anyway, I appreciate you, and until next time, insert whatever catchy phrase you want to for parting. Bye-bye.